You know, we were just talking about Fraser Minton and Timothy Liljegren. Do you think something has to give trade-wise to free up some cap space here, Simmer?
Well, yeah, as the team gets a little bit healthier, there's going to be issues. Janmark's coming back as well, and Yarncroke rather. So I think for Brad Treliving, lots of juggling as every GM does going into training camp and then the start of a season. But I don't think there's any question that something's probably going to have to be done. And if you've read the tea leaves, I just heard you guys talking about Liljegren. I mean, he's obviously one that has a number that is something that if you could get $3 million off the books, obviously I think it would be a little bit more comfortable. But as you guys were just saying, a lot easier said than done. And inevitably, sometimes you have to make that kind of deal. And then all of a sudden, if 2 or 3 guys get hurt, you're going, oh my gosh, now we're in jackpot, right? The value of having extra defense around and guys who can fill in is really important, but I don't know how they do it if they don't move a contract at this point.
What do you think of Nick Robertson's stock right now? I mean, came out and had a great preseason, and his knock has been consistency, and since that preseason, since opening night, haven't really noticed him too much. What do you think you do with a guy like that who has so much potential but has trouble being consistent with it?
Yeah, that's the word, right? The potential doesn't really get you a whole lot of value yet. I think anybody who would be looking at Nick is, I don't think going to be throwing a lot of assets your way. And I think that the challenge for him, I mentioned it on another show. He's the type of guy that's learning on the fly, how to be reliable. And as a young player in the league, you've got to show the coach that he can trust you in key situations, that you understand, the game at this level. And it's not just about even being productive. I don't think they're all worried that he hasn't scored or in that regard. It's, can you contribute on a nightly basis? Can you turn some pucks over and get offense going? Can you be reliable in your own zone? And I think that's where his consistency is sort of dropped off at different times. I think the effort is there and the try is there. I just don't think the execution has quite got there yet. So another team looking at him is, I think, saying, okay, maybe there is some potential offensively. You can tell when he gets a good scoring chance in all alone, he's got that one-shot ability to beat a goaltender. The problem is it doesn't happen on a regular basis, right? There's so many times you see him skating hard, but you don't see a whole lot of execution out of it. So there's one that I think you probably, he's maybe a part of a bigger deal at some point as opposed to the one guy. And I don't think you get enough value back for him because you still have to hope at this stage, it all starts clicking together and he can, like he did even last year, he can get on a little roll at a time and be productive offensively. But, I actually would have thought maybe 4 games in that you would have seen a little bit more of that on a nightly basis where you see, oh, yeah, he really contributed. He created chances, and there's often games where you just don't see that yet.
Simmer, we're trying our best to temper expectations. We're 4 games into this season, but man, Bob McMann's on pace for 81 goals this year. Yeah. 2 the other night. What's the ceiling look like in your opinion? Like, what's your read on Bob McMann? Because I think he's so fascinating for a variety of reasons, among them where he came from, but even to start the season as a healthy scratch, now he's on line too.
Yeah, and I think the starting point is one that Craig Berube has said right away. We probably have 14 forwards who can play. So guys, look at Max Pacioretty, getting game 4 scratch. So I think it was a distinct message for him. I don't think he was all that happy with Bobby's preseason. So you send a little quick message. But I think the more important thing for a young player who the key for McMahon too is, when you go to the American League, can you be productive? Well, here's a guy who had the rookie record of 24 goals in the American League, followed up with another 21 last year, 15 in the NHL. You go, that's what you're hoping to build upon coming in. I don't think Craig felt he had a great camp. And I love the fact that, you send a little bit of a message, but then you put him in a place where he has the opportunity to thrive. I thought that line looked great, didn't it? You look at Domi in the middle, you can talk a lot about that. But when you've got Nylander on one side that can make the plays, that allows Bobby to do what he does well. When he gets skating downhill, he's a handful, right? He's got deceptive speed. He's got big size, and I think he's got some hands that when they calm down and you have confidence like he must right now, I think the upside is easily in that 20-25 goal range. And it depends, I think getting a start like that allows a younger guy to believe in himself a little bit, and we'll see if he stays on that line. But if he does, I'm looking at that as a player going, hey, man, this is my opportunity. Like, this is a chance to be a regular player and maybe even a top 6 player on a really good team. So I think he also is smart enough to understand the opportunity that he has here in front of him.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Craig Berube. Obviously, he's tried wanting to get his fingerprints on this team. Small sample size, but training camp, preseason, and now a handful of games. You see this team a lot. Do you notice some different characteristics going on that you haven't seen in the past?
Yeah, to me, and I'm not saying this to even look backwards, but it's a little bit more business-like. Like, Craig is this is how it's going to be, and this is what I expect you to play. If you're not going to do that, you're going to have a problem. What do you say at the beginning? You got 2 things you can control: your work ethic and your compete level. And if one of those 2 things isn't happening, you're going to have a problem. And I think you see that in the early returns with this team. And I go back to the timeout in a 5-2 game. I'm not sure other guys would have necessarily done that. It's like anything as a coach. You can't blow up on your team every game. Every time you blow up on your team, it's less effective the next time, right? So you got to space it out. You got to pick and choose your spots. You can't do it on an everyday basis. But that was another early lesson for this group that, it's not okay to be playing sloppy. It's not okay to be playing soft. It's not okay to put your foot off the gas pedal. And I thought that moment was probably the best example of just the early difference of how Craig runs his team and runs his bench than maybe you've seen in the past.
There's no secret. I mean, all the new guys have made an impact. Are we not talking enough about Chris Tanev?
Well, I think he gets an awful lot of discussion. I think every day I've listened on the airwaves, his name seems to come up. But I don't think there's any question that the impact of Brad Treliving's moves this summer has been evident in the 3-1 start. Like, I think not only Tanev, Tanev is the reason why you're probably saying that is that's kind of the way he is. I mean, he's in your lineup to not be noticed other than being calm and being reliable and being solid defensively. And I think that's what makes him such a valuable asset. It'll allow, I think, Morgan Rielly to be a better Morgan Rielly too. The guy that probably I think is starting to get talked about more is I think Ekman-Larsson has been excellent and better than I thought he would be or could be in his role. He's surprised me with his physicality. He's surprised me with his speed a little bit. He's got a heck of a release on the shot. And I knew what to expect from Chris Tanev and maybe where he would fit into this lineup. But I think Ekman-Larsson has just doubled down on that and makes Jake McCabe a better defender as well. And so those 2 pairs have really solidified things. And on behind them, I think Anthony Stolar has been the best goaltender from day 1 of training camp. And to me, that's, you look at the value now with Joseph Woll still out, but to me, maybe that's the biggest deal that Brad Treliving did in the offseason. I mean, Stolarz looks like a goalie, and he looks like a guy that if I'm in that dressing room, I'm starting to have confidence, and I'm starting to believe that, man, our guy's good. Our guy, we just got to clear some bodies out in front. He looks like he's in control of the game. He looks like he's calm around the game, and the value of that, guys. You start getting that belief in the guy behind you that, if I make a mistake, he's going to get the save. That's a powerful thing for a team, and I don't think you've really seen that start to finish for a Leaf team in a long time.
Yeah, the additions seem to be panning out so far. Looking up the center position, Easton Cowan, obviously big task for him to come in here and try to do something. That didn't happen, which is totally fine. But if you look a year ahead, you got Fraser Minon, who got hurt in the prospects tournament. They could use some help at the center position. How much of a shot do you think they give him as he starts to get healthy and be ready for play? Do you think they throw him in there and see what he can do, if he can earn a spot, or do you think they'll take their time with him?
I think they'll take their time because, it would have been a different story if he had done kind of a follow-up to last year, being a bit of a surprise and having a really good camp and maybe opening their eyes a little bit. You feel bad for a young kid. You come in, wasn't that like the first game of the young guns, or so you don't really even get a chance to say what impact can you make. And a tough one for Easton Cowan, because unlike the freedom that he had last year in camp, where he had maybe a little no pressure, a little chip on his shoulder, wanted to prove that he's a good player, I think he really struggled with some of that pressure this year of, I'm a prospect now and I got to come in and prove something. And I had discussions with Brad Treliving about him, and he said, even Brad had gone to him and just said, son, relax, don't worry, you don't have to prove anything. And even if you do go back down, it's not like you're suddenly not a prospect. That's a hard mental thing to go through as an 18, 19-year-old kid, and the expectations. So you flip that over to Fraser Minon, and if I'm a coach, Craig Brew, I haven't seen him at all, right? You didn't watch him last year. You don't really know him. And now all of a sudden you're really behind. You're playing catch up from the start. So I can't see a scenario where they throw him in and say, I think he's ready. I don't know how exactly they're going to have to work him, because, again, you're talking another body who's going to go down. So it's an unfortunate thing for him, but I think he's going to have to go back and just start all over again, get healthy, get productive. And then I think long-term they've got to have in their mind that they respect him a lot. I think they think he's going to be a good prospect, but it's the runway, I think, is a little far down the road.
Simmer, it's cliche, but measuring stick games, I love them. I know it's game 5, but this game on Hockey Night in Canada has the makings of an all-time, not an all-time classic, but a really, really good game. You have the New York Rangers red hot coming in off a home-and-home sweep with the Detroit Red Wings. They've scored 21 goals. The Leafs have surrendered 6 in 4 games. Then you have the goaltending matchup, which is Sturgeon and Stolarz, right?
Yeah, you know what? There's always some early ones that you circle on the score sheet and go, oh man, that's going to be a good one to watch. And the measuring stick games are anytime you're playing the Stanley Cup champs. So doesn't matter who it is, they're the ones that, okay, we're playing Florida now, we got to beat them. We were playing Vegas last year, you got to go after them. So I think the Rangers though are an interesting bunch, and Jonathan Quick played last night, so we should see Shesterkin, which I think it's a great challenge, and probably at the right time. You look in your schedule early on and you go, okay, where do we have to be ready? So to me, it's Anthony Stolarz, right? He's got to play on Saturday. I don't care if Joseph Woll is even, back and healthy. All that he's gone through, you're not throwing him into that mix. So I really be interested in watching Stolarz and how he reacts to having Shesterkin at the other end. And, great to see the top guys get the zeros off the board.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.